G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well out there. Little bit of a different video, just smashing a quick one out. I'm traveling at the minute, so sorry in advance for the sound quality if it's a little bit dodgy, and the video quality, sorry if it's a little bit dodgy, but it is what it is. We've got to keep these rolling. I want to keep them rolling. So let's get stuck straight in today. Big couple of weeks. And as you know, the CBBI, I love the CBBI. We're up to 14 now. So it's really starting to tick up. The price is sort of hovering around high 22s, 23, and it's starting to look, it's certainly catching the eye of a lot of people. And the start to the year has been incredible. I don't think anyone can deny that so far. So, are we officially through the bear market? I don't know, but it's certainly heading in the right direction at this stage. But I've sort of figured that there's going to be a lot of volatility in 2023. So just be prepared for that. Best thing to do, right, if you bought a stack, is to put it on a cold hardware wallet, tuck it away somewhere, and then you can't really access your coins anyway, and you're not going to trade them or do anything silly if there is some crazy volatility. So get them nice and safe, and just enjoy the ride. Sentiment here have put out some interesting analysis. We had a very weird release from the DOJ. They did a pre-release of a hearing that they were going to push forward and penalize an exchange. And so the market sort of crashed on this news because they thought this was going to be much bigger than it was. It turned out to be a nothing burger. But irrespective, the traders went crazy, and the price dumped pretty hard off of this. And it turned out to be a good time to get into the market. But once everyone found out that this action by the DOJ was just for some no-name exchange called Bitsalado, then people just pressed on. It's a really weird, when you think about it, it's just a really weird exchange for the SEC and the DOJ to actually go after. It sort of makes no sense at all, and I don't really understand the logic behind all of their actions. Wouldn't they just try and hit the biggest people first, or anything else? I mean, I just don't understand it. But such is life. They said a lot about the Bitsalado exchange being a Russian money laundering outfit, of course. So, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But the volume that Bitsalado did was it was minuscule comparatively to, say, Coinbase or Binance or a lot of other exchanges around the world. So the thought process that Bitcoin is used for money laundering and illicit activities is just bust. It's just a lie. And you can see this chart represents this lie very, very well. This is from Chain Analysis, and it's obviously a little bit old, but it gives you still the right idea. Bitcoin is under 1% of illicit activities. Now, the reason for that is because Bitcoin is a open, fully transparent ledger. And the idea behind that is that every person who interacts with Bitcoin can verify the transactions. And thus, when Chain Analysis or when authorities really want to track down some illicit activities, they can just follow them on the network. So, you actually have to be really stupid to do illicit activities on using Bitcoin. It's just not really the way to go. Of course, this meme really finalizes and represents this issue perfectly of the last 12 months. Here's the DOJ protecting a nothing burger Bitsalado, and here are the poor retail investors trying to sleep while they're getting absolute bombs dropped on them from the unregulated or the people that the SEC and DOJ should have been going after much earlier: BlockFi, Voyager, Celsius, and FTX. So, what's going on here, guys. Just for a little bit of a recap, let's go through some of these failures of this last 12-month block. We've had 3 areas: Capital, Celsius Network, Terraform Labs, Voyager Digital, Core Scientific, Babel Finance, Hodlnaut, Genesis, BlockFi, ZipMex, and FTX. It's a very long list, and these are big players, and there's been a lot of hits. And now, of course, the Genesis filing has come through, and they've put themselves into voluntary insolvency. So Gemini initiates process to achieve global resolution to maximize value for all clients. This is a sad one, in my opinion. The Winklevoss boys just got a little selfish here. I just don't think they needed to do this earn product and all of this idiotic lending. And I don't know why people try to build the biggest thing on the planet. But anyway, let's see how all of this fell out. Genesis commences voluntary Chapter 11 restructuring of lending business to further advance ongoing stakeholder discussions and optimize outcomes for Genesis clients and Gemini Earn users. Ample liquidity of more than $150 million to support operations and facilitate restructuring process is still in their account. So that they're going to do their best to try to make their customers whole. They're not going to make them whole, of course. And they're probably going to sue Barry Silbert at DCG to try to get some of these funds back, but it's going to get messy. There's no doubt about that. Let's actually read here exactly what Cameron Winklevoss says about their decision to put Genesis into Chapter 11. So, earn update. This evening, Genesis Global Capital filed for bankruptcy under Chapter 11. This is a crucial step forward in us being able to recover your assets. While we have been working around the clock to negotiate an acceptable solution, Barry Silbert and DCG Group, the parent company of Genesis, continue to refuse to offer creditors a fair deal. Genesis will be subject to judicial oversight and be required to provide discovery into the machinations that brought us to this point. Crucially, the decision to put Genesis into bankruptcy does not insulate Barry, DCG, and any other wrongdoers from accountability. We have been preparing to take direct legal action against Barry, DCG, and others who share responsibility for the fraud and that have caused harm to the 340,000 plus earned users and others duped by Genesis and its accomplices. Unless Barry and DCG come to their senses and make a fair offer to the creditors, we will be filing a lawsuit against Barry and DCG immediately. Meanwhile, we will use every tool available to us in the bankruptcy court to maximize recovery for earned users and other parties within the bankruptcy court's jurisdiction. We also believe that in addition to owing creditors all of their money back, Genesis, DCG, and Barry owes them an explanation. Bankruptcy court provides a much needed forum for that to happen. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. This makes an important milestone in our efforts to help earn users get their assets back. Doing so remains our highest priority. So you can see it's a pretty tough time for the Winklevoss at the minute. They're fighting publicly with Barry Silbert, who is the biggest holder his Grayscale Trust is the biggest holder of Bitcoin in the world. You know, everything is sort of intermingled and it's getting messy. They got to go to court. They got to drag this thing out. It's going to be a tough one. And you can see here, Genesis, they've got a lot of big creditors. The list is long, and there's a lot of money here. So you can see Gemini here are owed $800 million. And if we go down the list, there's all sorts of people who are in and up the creek. And in something like this, the bigger parties at the top might get a percentage of their stuff back, but everyone else is going to get really bugger all. So there's still a lot to wash out, I guess is what I'm saying. But we're here for Bitcoin. Bitcoin just doesn't care about any of this. It's just going to keep producing blocks every 10 minutes. And its value prop continues. Don't leverage Bitcoin. That's the answer here. So back to Bitcoin now, and you can see here the unrealized profit loss. We are back in the green. That means the percentage, the majority percentage of purchased Bitcoin is back in profit. So this is a good sign for hodlers. They're sort of out of their treacherous bear market scenario, which you can see is consistent throughout each cycle. And we've been through the cycles a million times, but all of these charts and analysis all sort of hit with the same rhythm. So yeah, historically we are going to either bounce back in for a bit or stay in the green now and start our climb up. So let's hope that history continues as it has. Let's hope Bitcoin's future continues like it has in its history thus far. It won't, of course, be the same, but hopefully it's sort of somewhat similar. Someone that's not happy with Bitcoin is Jamie Dimon. I'm going to play this clip for you shortly. You got to listen hard. It's a tricky one. He either is being very, he's either lying directly to everyone and knows all about it. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's the CEO of the biggest bank in the world. He would, I'm sure, know a little bit about it, but perhaps he doesn't. Just from pure ignorance and arrogance, he doesn't think it's worth warranting his time to look into it. Now, if that's the case, you all have the biggest alpha edge here ever over Jamie. But Jamie also may be trying to, load his bag. So he's trying to keep the price down by being negative, or he's trying to get it over-regulated because it's going to disrupt his business. It's a whole set of circumstances for Jamie that is basically everything but just being positive on Bitcoin. So listen to old Jamie and see what your take is on his discussion here.
What we were talking about, we pretty much always have some crypto conversation with you. I'm just curious because I don't think we've talked to you since.
I think all that's been a waste of time, and why you guys waste any breath on it is totally beyond me.
Because you just think the whole thing just is
going to zero?
Going to zero and it's fake?
Bitcoin itself is a hyped up fraud. It's a pet rock.
You're back to that?
Yeah,
really?
Of course, yeah.
So what do you make then of BlackRock and other firms that are investing in infrastructure?
No, that's different. Blockchain is a technology ledger system that we use to move information. We've used it to do overnight repo, intraday repo. We've used it to move money.
Right.
So that is a ledger. That's a technology ledger type of thing that we think will be deployable. Remember, we've been talking about that for 12 years too, and very little's been done.
There's some tokens that I agree with you on, but Bitcoin's based on a distributed ledger. Yeah, it has all the characteristics of a store of value. It's immutable. It's scarce.
Totally untrue. It's
21 million.
Well, yeah, really. How do you know it's going to stop at 21 million?
Because
I've mentioned this to people
Satoshi,
too. Everyone says that. Well, maybe it's going to get to 21 million, and Satoshi's picture is going to come up and laugh at you all and say, "No."
There isn't a picture.
And by then, Satoshi will have taken out billions of dollars.
What was your reaction to the failure of FTX and all of that? You've seen lots of failures over the years of different things that have happened on Wall Street and in the world of finance.
I'm not surprised at all.
And
I called it a decentralized Ponzi scheme. The hype around this thing has been extraordinary.
The underlying asset.
But you have a lot of clients who are involved.
You guys you've all seen the analysis on Tether and the analysis on all these things and the lack of disclosures, and it's outrageous. The regulators should have stopped this a long time ago. People have lost billions of dollars. Some are, if you look at it as lower income people, in some cases,
Jamie, there's a difference between saying FTX is a decentralized Ponzi scheme and saying that crypto itself is a Ponzi scheme. That's like, Madoff created options.
Crypto itself that doesn't do anything is a pet rock. You're happy to
Bitcoin.
You can own it all you want.
I'm just talking. There's a lot. It's billions of dollars.
Guys, I don't care about Bitcoin, so we should drop the subject.
All right. Well, let me.
Now, despite what Jamie says, the Bitcoin ownership in the US is actually pretty massive, and this cohort of people is just continuing to rise all around the world, and there's no doubt about that. But you can see here, as of October 2022, all US adults, 15% of them have reported that they own Bitcoin. That is a lot of people just for the US. So this cohort is going to continue to grow. And I think people like Jamie may be in for a very unpleasant surprise for them and their businesses in the semi-near future. Part of the reason for Bitcoin's continued success is the hodler base. And once, it's a funny thing, it takes a couple of cycles for people to wrap their head around what Bitcoin is and its value prop. But inevitably then they tend to hold these coins in a time preferential manner. Their mindset changes on a whole range of different things. And they hold on to them for multiple years or a decade or more so, because they know that in the future the price is going to be up. So it's much better for them to hold these for long durations. And basically all that does constantly is reduce the supply available, and hence the price goes up. So, I mean, I'm not telling you anything special here. This is obvious that the price is going to go up just purely from an adoption perspective. With supply, with the inflation so low in Bitcoin, once we click over 2024 halving, this thing is going to be that scarce. I can't stress this enough. It is going to be so scarce that just holding one of these bad boys is going to be very, 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 very special. So I know I said at the start that Bitcoin's on a good start to the year. Sorry, at the start of the video I said that. And it's true. It's, we're up 27%. It's so far the best performing asset in the world, and risk adjusted, it is the best also. So, it's a very important, it should be a very important mix in your portfolio. With a Sharpe ratio, how it is, you only need a small percentage in your portfolio to make a huge difference in your annual outcomes. So with such a great start, it's hard to see that it's obviously not going to drag on and just go up forever this year. But I do think 2023 is going to be a pretty big year. We're coming off the low, of course, and a big down year in 2022. But 2023 is going to be pretty exciting. The whole macro environment is going to be interesting, without a doubt. And whether gold and Bitcoin can really take this store of value march with all of the uncertainty, it's going to be interesting to watch. So we'll keep an eye on it. All right, I'm going to leave you there today, guys, and I'm going to try to pump out another video a bit later this week because this one's a little bit disheveled, let's be honest. But I want to leave you with Andreas Antonopoulos. He is an OG in explanation for Bitcoin, and he's been all around the world. He's put on all sorts of conferences and seminars and everything else, and he's just the king, quite frankly. If you have a chance to read his book, The Internet of Money, I certainly recommend you do so. It's very, very, very good. I'll put a link in the description below if you do want to buy it. It's a nice little book, so you'll enjoy it. But listen to Andreas here. He's the voice that we all want to hear in Bitcoin. He's a very rational thinker, so it's worth the 9 minutes. I know that it's a long video, but it's 9 minutes. It's worth listening to. So just sit it out, listen to it. Thank you for watching today, and stay well out there. Keep an eye on the price. Good luck, and I'll see you soon.
In October of 2008, on an obscure, anonymous mailing list called the Cypherpunk mailing list, an anonymous participant using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto announced the publication of a paper and said, "I think I have solved a problem in computer science. I have found a way to create a system of electronic cash that is direct between people, peer-to-peer, as we use the term in computer science. In this system of electronic cash, I've written a white paper and I have implemented it in software." And on that day, Satoshi Nakamoto published the white paper. You can download it online. It's available at bitcoin.org. You can do a search for it, the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper or the Bitcoin white paper. And in 9 pages, Satoshi Nakamoto described in detail and in ways that predicted many of the things that happened over the next 7 years, what Bitcoin was and what Bitcoin could become and how it would work. But he didn't stop there. Or she didn't stop there. Or they didn't stop there, because we don't know if Satoshi Nakamoto is a man, a woman, or a group of people, or an alien being from the future. Okay, probably not that last one. Satoshi Nakamoto then published software and invited people to participate in running a network. And this gives you the first hint as to how Bitcoin works. Bitcoin is software. Bitcoin is an application, among other things. You download this application, you run it on your computer. You can run it on a laptop, you can run it on a desktop, preferably on a computer that's permanently connected to the internet. It uses quite a bit of RAM and disk space right now, but in those days it was very lightweight. And if you run this program, it reaches out on the internet and it finds other people running this program. You don't know who these people are. It doesn't reach out to specific people. It creates a random mesh network, what we call a peer-to-peer network, where every participant in the system is equal. There's no special computer. They're all just talking to each other. It creates what in network terms we would call a crowd. So randomly reaches out and connects to various other computers running the Bitcoin software. And together they create a network. And that network is used to exchange and propagate transactions. And these transactions are encoded in a digital format. They contain information about the transfer of value and the authorization to transfer value between participants. Nobody controls this network. And this is a critical concept. Nobody controls this network. You can be running one of these computers. You do not control this network. You run one of these applications. It connects to other people. And you run another one of these applications. And it talks Bitcoin to the other computers that are talking Bitcoin. But no one is in control. No one is in charge. Just like when you're running a computer that speaks on the internet and communicates with other computers on the internet, no one is in control. If you interact directly between these systems. That network started on January 3rd, 2009. And on that day, the world changed. For the first time in the history of money, in the history of trust, in the history of institutions, in the history of humanity, a system that is completely independent of authority, is completely independent of institutions, a system that develops trust as the result of collaboration, communication, and computation through cryptography, was born. This system allows people to exchange value, to transmit money. And this money is called Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is the application. It's the software that you run on your computer that communicates with all of the other computers running the Bitcoin software. Bitcoin is the name of the network that runs, the Bitcoin network, which is the collection of all of these computers. Some 6,500 of them around the world, anywhere there is internet, are the ones we know that advertise their presence, several thousand more that don't, and tens of thousands that simply listen onto this network without actively participating. The Bitcoin network. And all of this is an infrastructure that is used to create and transmit value in the form of transactions expressed in a new currency, the Bitcoin currency. And the Bitcoin currency is unlike any other form of money we have ever seen before. First of all, as a form of money, it does not exist in physical form. It is the culmination of a trajectory we've seen in human history. Over thousands of years, money has become a more abstract form of value. You start with very, very tangible forms of value. Commodities. A goat. A banana. A pineapple. These are very poor forms of money because you can eat them and they rot or die and they can be lost. They're not very good forms of money because they are the thing of value. We went from that to gold, precious metals, and stamped coins. These are better forms of money because you cannot eat them. They do not die or rot. They do not represent the value itself. They are not the value. And this is an interesting concept. Money is not the valuable thing itself. Money is the thing you exchange for the valuable thing itself. The reason bananas are not good money is because bananas are the value you're trying to get. Money is the thing you exchange for bananas that has no value in itself. It is simply a symbol, an abstraction. It represents something that can be carried that I can give to someone tomorrow, and they will probably give me bananas. That future promise of value is the essence of money. So the essence of money is the ability to have an abstract token that in itself is immutable, unforgeable, eternal, maintains its value, and represents the exchange of value in the future as a promise. And over time, these things have become less and less physical and more abstract.